Just let me. Cool. Good to go.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you.
Sweet. I've got like 50 pictures, so I'll probably just like blow through them pretty quickly. But this is what I've been working on for the last little while. I sent email to Chris a week ago or so because he helped me weld for the first time and weld up the bed frame that goes in here. And I figured he never sees finished products, so I sent it to him. But yeah, so it's a 2017 Ford Transit van, high roof. I'm like 6'5" and I can stand up in it, so pretty good. It's got like 90,000 miles on it. I got it in like November of last year, and then drove it out to Phoenix at the beginning of this year, and worked on it. And this took me about 4 months to build out everything that I've got here, and then it's kind of sat. And I am now out in it. I'm in Santa Barbara, and yeah, giving it kind of the testing. I'm already finding issues, but so it's got solar on the top. It's got 350 watt panels, and then I've got some batteries inside as well, but I'll show those off. So exterior, a little bit closer up, got kind of vinyl wood plank flooring, cabinets from Home Depot. Some of them are pre-made cabinets, and some of them I built out myself. Pine ceiling. The bed here lowers down, so it's just me right now, but I wanted more space. With a lot of these, the bed takes up, the majority of the space. It's not an extended length van, so I wanted to hoist the bed out of the way. So this is what I built at Sector, the welded frame here. Yeah, lost my train of thought, but that's that. There's a little bit more detail on the bed. I'll go into detail on kind of how it all works in a little bit. And then you've got kind of 2 benches here as well. Kind of hodgepodge together, a bunch of different cabinets here. So I've got enough spot for hanging space. Here is a slide out refrigerator. So got a portable RV refrigerator that's runs on 12 volt. Basically everything, I tried to do everything on 12 volt DC. I've got one exception, one like, reliable exception, but everything else is 12 volt DC. Yep, front swivel van or front swivel seat. So this is kind of looking out the back. I've got a table that's removable, and then 2 benches on either side. And off to the left here, you can see a little cubby that holds a monitor. So I work remotely. So the plan is to try and work from anywhere. I've got Starlink satellite internet and solar power, and in theory can support all of that kind of anywhere. So that's the goal. Right now I'm at a campground. It felt like a safe first trip to break everything in and mess stuff up. So yeah, better view of the monitor. From the back, there's the Starlink little Wi-Fi guy. It's pretty sweet. I'm really happy with it so far. That's what I'm on right now. It's pretty dang quality. So this is kind of, so this is the bed solution. So there's a lot of like other solutions out there. There's no shortage of like van life stuff, but this is the solution that I came up with. I didn't want to use power to do this. A lot of them have like powered tracks or actuators, but this is just a gas shock like you would get in a tailgate of an SUV or on the hood of a car. But it's got longer travel and it's like 100 pounds. So there's one of these on each side. And then I've got pulleys. These are 3D printed, which I think I'm going to have to get maybe eventually a more permanent thing. So these actually, like, the pulleys in here partially melted in the Arizona heat. So yeah, but I had to print new ones. So these go to basically the four corners, and they're ran through enough times where basically I get 2 to 1. So I have the lifting power of these, but doubled the length of travel. And that's just enough to suck up to the ceiling and then set down in place. And it's pretty well balanced. It's pretty neutrally buoyant, to where I don't have to push down too hard to get it down. I don't have to lift too hard to get it out of the way. So pretty happy with the solution. I think, so yeah, I think there's minor things, but it works for the most part. I can also, like, I don't know if I should stop at any point, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to interrupt me.
You have a video that works.
You have a video of that running? That's what Sean says here.
Yeah, I don't, because I just took all these pictures last night. I suck at, like, documenting stuff.
You're all good. I've been grilling Sean all day, so trust me.
So is it just counterbalancing the weight of the bed?
Yeah, basically.
Raise and lower.
Yep. Yeah. So the bed, I mean, the bed with the mattress and the frame and the wood is probably like 120 pounds. So it's pretty, it's probably 100 pounds. So it's pretty hefty. So each one of these with the pulleys has basically 35 inches of travel and 50 pounds of lifting capacity. And I've got 2 of them. So yeah, so it kind of just assists in getting the bed up there. It would be impossible with a single person to get it up to the ceiling otherwise. Yeah, I thought about recording a video, but I'm by myself and setting it up. All that is.
Oh, you're all good. My parents have Starlink, and it's been they've had like 0 complaints for over a year. And then last week they were on vacation for a week, and the thing's out in their garage, and it just totally died. But they're the second round of, like, beta customers. So the the router that you have is the newer one. They have an older, like, weirder shaped one. But they sent in technical support requests, and they said 2 to 8 weeks for a reply. And they were like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." So they bugged me, and I have a friend who works at actually one of the guys who used to be around here works at SpaceX. So I prodded him to say, "Hey, 2 weeks at no internet, my parents, they're gonna go nuts and kill each other." And sure enough, he pushed them up the queue, but then the people were like calling them because their internet was down, so they couldn't, like, submit pictures. And anyway, so long story short, the customer service seems to be pretty good as well. Because they got back like the next day before my friend even got back to them. So.
Nice. Yeah, I have not ran into any issues with it yet. It's like it just works. It's like,
yeah, the latency is awesome. Like, your speech sounds great, video, everything. Totally fine. Cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Lois?
I'll keep plowing through if that's cool. Few more things. This is the battery setup. So I've got 2 200 amp hour AGM batteries, 1000-watt inverter, and a bunch of other stuff. But this should get me good. I think I might switch to lithium at some point. With AGM, they're, you know, a lead acid battery. They can only really go down to 50% without damaging them. So lithium's just like 3 or 4 times the price, and they're already expensive. I think each one of these batteries, if they were lithium, was like 12 or 1,400 bucks. So wasn't trying to do that right now, but I might eventually. Yep, lights. This is the display for the solar. They've been charging all day, so I'm at 100%. This is the left bench. I've got a DC to DC power here, so it'll charge the batteries off of the alternator if the car's running, and then just extra storage. I sewed some blinds, cover stuff up. This is a terrible picture of the bed down. I've got a couple more too, but this was last night. So there's legs that fold down and kind of socket into these 2 benches here, and then the front of the bed sits on the countertops. This is from a while ago, but yeah, same thing. So you can see the super thin line that runs on the pulleys coming down here, and then they go down to the shocks, gas struts below. Bed down from inside, got lights in the top here. They're super bright, way too bright, but I've got them on dimmer. So, and then the bed's pretty high, but it works. Okay, I'll run through progress pics really quick. This is me coming down from Wisconsin, just tossed in with a bunch of stuff. So the guy had it before me, like partially did stuff, but I ended up ripping out everything that he did. This is everything ripped out. He glued down the floor, and I hated him for that. I got to remove that. Yeah, just progress pictures. There's kind of studs. I did studs throughout the whole thing. There's the cubby, the flooring. This was great. This is like an insulated flooring, pre-cut, and saved me a bunch of time to do insulation on the floor. Plywood laid down, kind of skinned. The benches and some of the cabinetry started. Cabinetry started with a slide out door for the refrigerator. I took a trip around February to go skiing, and the van was not near done, but it was functional, so we kind of just like strapped stuff down and went for it. Yeah, more. So this is down here is the refrigerator. There's another drawer that is above it. This is the mess that happens with every project. More pictures. So another thing is I've got a motorcycle, and I built everything to be able to fit the motorcycle, so I can remove the table, and the motorcycle pulls in, and there's about 1/8 of an inch of clearance. Both of these cabinets are not standard cabinet depth, so I built both of these, and there's about 1/8 of an inch clearance on either side that allow the motorcycle to pull in. So got that too, and that is it.
Where does the table live when it's not in the post in the middle?
So it lives just behind the driver's seat.
Oh, okay. So you're taking it down, bringing it to the front then.
Yep, yeah. So these poles completely detach, and then the poles like I just threw in here, and then I can just put it behind the driver's seat, kind of. Yeah, like basically right here.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was the one thing that kind of disappeared between the transition to the bed and the back. Yeah, I wasn't sure where it landed.
Yeah, yep. And the table is actually low enough that the table can hang out while the bed is down. Really, the only reason I take the table out is it shakes a little bit when I'm driving, so I take it out then. Or if I have got the motorcycle, I've got to obviously take it out then.
Motorcycle is an awesome addition.
Yeah, for sure. I actually didn't bring it with me this time. I bought a little like electric scooter, like the Bird scooters or whatever, which has been super nice. It's also a pain in the butt to get in by yourself, and I didn't feel like dealing with it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some more motorcycle stuff. Because yeah, taking the van around is great, but it gets 14 miles to the gallon, and it's just big and rattles and everything. So having something a little bit more mobile is nice.
Anybody else got questions for Andy? He's too smart. He doesn't need a heat source. He's in Arizona. It's all good.
Oh, cool.
That's right. John is asking, what's your heating or cooling system?
Yeah, so heating, I'm basically gonna try and chase like 75-degree high, which I am not doing right now. I've got a little propane, like Mr. Buddy or whatever it is for heat. I used that like skiing last winter, and then AC or cooling. There's no solution. AC pulls a lot of power, and it's just not an option. So a fan. I've got a battery powered fan. Right now, luckily, it's very breezy. So
They're There might be a configuration of van that has a secondary AC. A lot of those will have a secondary full AC system where it's like a rear mount, you know, whatever. But I'm not saying it'd be worth at this point installing it. But it's a possibility.
Yeah. I kind of want to try to avoid running the van as much as possible, but yeah, that would be an option. I also looked at like swamp coolers too, or like a little mini swamp cooler because they use a lot less power. But I don't know.
Yeah, that'd work great down there. It's just up here where the humidity is bad, but like Arizona kind of stuff would be awesome.
Yep, for sure.
Any other questions from anybody? Mark lives in an airstream.
Is there a fan?
He wants to know if there's a fan, like a
At night,
like
so
a rooftop
can you get
fan.
here at night by fan?
Yep. So yeah, I've got a vent fan, and it will cycle air pretty well if it's got another inlet kind of open. So that was another thing. So I've got the back side. I sewed a snap-in rug screen all the way around. It was in one of the pictures, but not super clear. And so I leave the back end open to kind of let that air circulate through at night. But yeah, so it's got that fan, and it does a pretty good job. You can either pull hot air out or push cold air in, and then I've got like a little mini fan as well. So nights are great. It's just like the mid-afternoon. It's a bit of a struggle today.
You gotta get the cot to go underneath the van for siesta hour, you know, in the mid-afternoon.
Right.
Use the van's a big heat shield.
Unfortunately, I was in more Zoom meetings all day just working, so hard to take it. Yeah.
So the green screen's for, man. Just get a green cot. It'll be all good.
You're right.
That's awesome. So are you paying the Starlink premium to make it mobile, or does it work just as long as you're stationary wherever you end up?
Yeah, so I don't know what like the normal pricing is, but it's $135 a month for what I pay, and you can turn it on and off, which is great. So like, yeah, like it's month to month. So really, not that bad. Obviously, it's more than normal internet, but
Not by much. My parents were paying $100 a month for like 2 meg, which is why Starlink was insane. They went from literally 2 meg to $100 a month internet over at CenturyTel to Starlink, which was obviously spectacularly fast. Dennis, I don't know that that's the. He asked if it's the Starlink for RVs price in the chat. I don't think it is. I think the Starlink for RVs is even more expensive.
I thought the base Starlink price, though, ties you to a particular geolocation, and if you drift outside of that very far, it's not going to like it.
Yeah, so they actually just updated that. Well, I mean, you can get that. So the RV package is $135 a month. You can't use it while driving around.
Right.
But you're not geo like restricted, so you can go anywhere, and that's $135. And that's like recent. That's like within the last like 3 or 4 months, roughly.
Then they have the one you can use while you're moving that's higher bandwidth and higher reliability, the Starlink for boats or yachts, except that it's like $5,000 a month.
Oh,
It's
wow.
super expensive. Yeah, but it actually works while the boat rocks.
Yeah.
I swear to God, the only reason they have that is so that they could do the Starlink landings on the boats. Because they always lost the landing video only because it shook too much. So I swear to God, the only reason they fixed it is because they wanted to do streaming off the boat. And once they had it, they were like, oh, let's put a ridiculous price tag on this to see who's willing to pay for it.
And for big boats like liners, that's cheap, you know, for that kind of activity. But they picture it on a yacht, which is just kind of your 1%er kind of solution.
But even so, I mean, if you rented a yacht, you know, a couple of months out of the year or whatever, at $5 grand a month just to tack on for your fuel bill, can't be too bad. But I guess, you know, we have any yacht dwellers, we know that the guy who works at SpaceX was living on a boat, and the deal was you couldn't live in the boat for more than 4 days a week. So he got 2 boats in California, and he would move from one boat to the other boat. That was the way he lived affordably. So he literally had these boats that were just tied up that were like not seaworthy, and all they were is tied to a berth, and you paid for your documents. Yeah,
That's great.
Nice.
Figured it out.
yeah. There's some other alternative arrangements, but I think your AGMs are a smart choice. I don't think the lithium stuff hasn't really caught up with the weight of your vehicle. Those batteries are going to make really a minimal difference unless you were really hurting for square footage, the square volume, cubic volume space. You're going to see like no advantage at all with lithiums unless you need either huge discharge or you're really power or weight or like otherwise constrained.
Yeah, I think my only concern is like they're 400 amp hours and I can only take them down to 50%. So I'm kind of limited there. Whereas lithium, I could take down much further. I think that's like really the biggest concern, but I don't really know what my like capacity is yet. Starlink is a decent amount. It's like 100 watts. So, and if I got to run that for 8 hours, it's a decent chunk. So we'll see.
I was gonna say, I think you could pull more than half out of it without. What happens is the discharge curve versus lifespan is like, we ran into this with car batteries all the time. So like a Toyota Prius battery runs from like 30% discharge state of charge to like 80% state of charge, and that allows the battery to last for like 10 years. So if you want your battery to last for 10 years, it's totally true. You probably should shouldn't really deep discharge it. But if you're looking at like 3 to 5 year lifespan, then all of a sudden that creeps into like, not that big a deal. And if you hammer them down to 0, maybe they'll last for 2 years. They'll last whatever the hell the warranty is. So I wouldn't say you're like gonna destroy them if you're pulling them down a little lower than they should, but it's just that you're removing lifespan. So if you take a lithium pack and you go from 100% to 0%, that's a whole lot of life cycles versus like that 70-30 kind of draw. And so it's all in how many life cycles you want, because a lithium battery will do like, let's say 10,000 life cycles. And so that's that nice like 70% or 80% to 30% kind of discharge curve. It's like 10,000 cycles over time. If you go full discharge charge, you might get 1,000 cycles. And so somewhere in between there is that curve that you'll land on. And obviously you're going to be biased towards the longer lifespan by having a gentler discharge rate and a lower state of charge discharge limit. I don't know. Shouldn't go out of your way to destroy them, but you should also like, it's probably not going to. The big one would be deep discharging, which will really wreck stuff. So like trying to stay away from really bottoming is all this thing. But 10.5 volts is where you start throwing sulfate on the plates really fast. So don't go below 10.5 volts, so you're really doing it.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I'm
pretty shallow. So.
I'm a solid 13.5 right now. So
yeah, yes, I'm sure you are in the sun.
Yeah, I've been producing, I think like when at peak like 200 watts, which I could power everything with just solar. It's just, once you get into the evening time, like it's a little tougher. So, but yeah, it's kind of fun to like just geek out and watch the battery all day long. Or I'll get a better feel for it. That's what this week's for.
Anybody else have any questions for Andy? Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. I've got a couple of relevant comments here. One thing, if you ever are looking to upgrade your solar system, you got a great opportunity here in Madison. You have to drive back. Just put these up today. I'd be willing to go down to 3, probably down to 2,000-ish. I don't know if they're going to fit in your van or not, but I'm figuring some pull-out door slides, maybe some stacking systems. It could be in good shape. Comes with a grid tie inverter, so I mean, solid 2 kW system. So saying you wouldn't have to avoid the air conditioning and the furnace anymore. But unfortunately, you're going to need like a semi to tow the array with it. So. No, anyway, in all seriousness, thing to check out if you're out touring around. This is this mapall.space. It's got all of the hacker spaces, maker spaces throughout the country. And my suggestion would be email or call ahead, because some of these places have totally varying, like swing by whenever you want, or if you contact us ahead of time, somebody will meet you there, or if you contact us ahead of time, we'll tell you when the potluck is, and swing by and have to hang out with people. There's a lot of different things on, but they do have an API, so any of these green spaces are literally open, so you could like drop in this place and they'd be expecting to have somebody by, versus the one over here is expecting to not have anybody randomly stop by. So you can look and see what all's out there. The Seat Sync Labs is pretty accurate, or pretty active. I'm on their one of their Slack groups, so they got some toys. So if you do end up needing the 3D prints of new pulleys or parts or something, swing by and with your STL in hand and say, please, I just need my bed to roll back up the ceiling so I can pull my bike back in.
Nice, yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, this website does a nice job at giving a reasonable way to see all the spaces and all the places.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, totally. All right. I'll talk about my boring presentation here real quick. Since I got the thing up anyways. So I am doing drywall taping mudding, which if you've never done that, that's where you've got your sheets of drywall that come together and you've got a gap that you need to put something across the gap to hold the sheets from shifting. Otherwise, if you just paint it over, you'd obviously have a big crack in the joints. But if you just fill it with plaster without tape, then you'd also have a big crack in the seam. So this tool is used where you're putting your roll of paper tape back here or fiberglass tape back here, and then your tape rolls through, rolls upwards, and then rolls downwards and goes out the nose. And then you fill the inside of this cavity with mud, drywall mud, and then as you pull the tape through, it self-coats. And then this red part here is adjustable. It can space farther away or closer in order to vary the amount of mud or like plaster that's left on the tape as you pull it out. So effectively, this thing is it's tape dispenser that dispenses mud with the tape, so that you don't have to manually apply mud to the wall and then push the tape over it and then squeeze the mud around. So we bought one of these things because I have a buttload of drywall to be doing to build the apartment upstairs, and of course I had this thing in the basket of the man lift, which Andy, it's got a 225 amp hour reserve capacity. It's 4 6-volt golf cart batteries, so they're $100 a piece. So if you do ever end up wanting capacity, golf cart batteries are really cheap for amp hour storage. But what happened, of course, is I ran this nose in, and I was happy to see that the nose didn't break, but it sheared off this little plastic chunk. Ironically, when I bought this thing, I bought it used on Amazon, from Amazon Warehouse, and whoever had it before me already broke the other plastic knobs. It came with 2 of them. And so I had one working plastic knob and one broken plastic knob. So I broke the second plastic knob and was like, fuck it, this clearly is a super common thing. How has nobody designed a 3D printable version of this? So this is basically what happens. It shears the inside off. So then what I ended up doing then is going over to Fusion. It took me about probably an hour-ish, maybe, at most, to draw this. It's not super hard. It's a couple of sketches. I think it's 4 or 5 total to get this part drawn out. So effectively, started off with a circle, added the bumps later on, and then extruded up my cut with my notches, and did this middle bump as a cylinder, and then did another bump as a cylinder that's narrower, and another one. And then later on, I put in this little detent knob. The design's kind of clever. They've actually got a few features on here that allow you to vary. So this sets the effective range of the knob. Actually, this sets the effective range of the knob. Sorry, then this is the detents that stop you at certain increments to vary the amount that comes out. So this was my first go on the right. I ended up mismeasuring, and so I had these tabs sticking in farther. And actually, it meant that the tabs needed to be what this diameter was. So I just shaved the tabs off and jammed it on there to prove out that the rest of it worked. And then ultimately reprinted it with just a slightly narrower wall. That worked out. You'll notice that I'm printing this sideways. I should be printing it with this face downwards, and I'm printing it instead sitting on an edge. And doing that to make sure that this bump doesn't get sheared off. Because if I printed it coming up towards us, then that bump would be across the shear layer and it would just break off if it ever was under load. So instead I printed it vertically and had a bunch of support in here, and that allowed me to make sure that the layers are coming out towards us now, which gives us a lot of strength going across the part. Of course, the easy logical solution is go get JB Weld, mix it up, dump it in there, and call it a day. I'm sure it's what every drywall on earth does, but they want $9 for a new knob. The entire tool was like $38, so I was not paying $9 for a new knob. But in short, yeah, that's my my fun drywall taper story. What was good is that I busted it. Was like, oh fuck, and then I looked up online, saw how expensive they were, and then had it printing, the longest part was printing it took about 50 minutes to print. So it was about 2-hour round trip to get back to taping and cutting. Mr. Aaron?
So how much time did it save you getting that done?
Oh, it saves a shitload. Yeah, so this tool actually.
I mean, you have to calculate in all the repair time too.
Oh, Aaron, you watch yourself. Aaron's asking rational decisions or ask rational questions like, if I consider all the time fixing the tool and using the tool, is it really better? But anyway, the thing's pretty straightforward. It's just got this little adjustable thing on here. It's really it. It's you can probably see the gap. It's narrower, better. What's cool though is that this pushes into the crack, and so it kind of guides the tape as it's going. And then these guys are pushing the tape in to seat the mud. Thus far, it seems good. Won't know it all until about 2 years from now, when all of the seams in the whole wall crack, or they're all fine. Fortunately, we're going to bury it pallet racking, and it's more or less practice for doing the apartment. Having to do a halfway decent job inside, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, right. Anybody else ever tried to do a whole house worth of drywall, or is everybody smart enough to like hire? Here they call them contractors, so like people you paid and do work for you. I don't know. I'm familiar myself.
I did my
Anything
whole,
else, peanut gallery? Sorry, Andy, go for it.
I was just saying, I did my garage, a large garage, I don't know, a few years ago, and yep, I won't be drywalling again.
I went and finally bought 210-minute mud. I wanted to know, I never have bought 210-minute mud because it's always mix up like 45-minute, throw it in the tray, go out and throw mud everywhere. And you cannot mix the mud, load this thing, get up in the man lift, walk upstairs, then go upstairs again, then get in the man lift, go up to wherever the hell you're working, and then start running beads on the wall. Because by the time you get there, your 45 minutes is done, and you get about 20 feet out of this thing. But I threw 210-minute mud in and actually ran it out of mud for the first time yesterday, having bought long enough setting mud. So that was the major innovation. Turns out there is a reason they make 210-minute mud, and I had no idea why, but now I understand why people get so slow putting up drywall. I also bought the other tools that do nail spotting. So it's like a squeegee kind of that runs over and dispenses mud and then squeegees the wall where the nails are. And then I bought 2 mud boxes, which should do the 10-inch and 12-inch feather over the drywall seams. So we're done fucking around. I'm very good at doing it by hand, but I will destroy my wrist if I have to do this much. So I'm instead choosing to engage technology and make life easier. Mark's gonna be doing his house someday, so he's gonna want to borrow it. Maybe it's an ongoing joke. Mark's never gonna.
So then now control thickness of the
So Sean's asking if the knob, what's the function of the knob? And yeah, all it's doing is sliding this plate in and out to allow you to have a bigger gap where the tape can go. And yeah, as you're pulling the tape's rolling up over the edge, so it's lifting this plate up. So now it's really preventing the plate from sliding any further. So when it broke, I was very quick to understand exactly what the function of the knob is, which is if you don't have that, the plate will pitch and then it just locks itself on. So I was like, oh, the knob broke. Oh, well, I'll just kind of jam the little stuff in there and leave it, and it doesn't work. But you can buy a metal version of one of these, but then I imagine when you run that into the wall, then it just like pulls up a piece of sheet metal. So I don't know which one's better. I think making certain to not break the tool is probably the best way to go. Anybody else got questions?
I have a stupid Fusion 360 nosy thing.
Yeah, go nuts.
Did you copy and paste all of the circles around in that sketch?
So those are distributed as a pattern. So I drew one of them and then I told it. Make it big.
Okay, sweet, good. Yeah, I've never done a sketch pattern before. I always extrude and then make the pattern off the 3D object.
Yep.
So that was possible. That's good to know.
Yeah, I learned, I taught myself SolidWorks in school because they didn't teach SolidWorks, and I had to learn NX4, I think. Now they're on like NX8 or something. I have no idea. Did a little bit of Pro E enough to learn that I didn't like it. And then I've since learned Fusion 360 because I can't get SolidWorks any remotely reasonable price. So you can use Onshape though, cheaply online. That's basically free. It's an online version of SolidWorks, the same team version of SolidWorks. And then FreeCAD actually is kicking ass lately. I have not used FreeCAD like super lately, but their revisions continue to impress. I've been really surprised with the stuff you get out of them. It's still open source and it still sucks, but it's infinitely better. And I'm excited every time Autodesk raises the price because it will just drive more and more people to FreeCAD. And so I hope that Autodesk and Onshape don't even realize what they're doing. They just keep cranking the price up, make that price go higher, push more hobbyists to use the open source tools because those are better. As a charity, doing charitable projects, I have to pay $40 for our annual Fusion 360 license. So if anybody needs to like sign on as a board member or something, so that they can get the sweet $40 license. I don't know how many licenses you get, but
Janitors or janitors?
janitor, yeah, mark out the janitorial Fusion license. I didn't look closely at the terms to see how it works, but I know that if you text, you can get $40 licenses. I used to get 25 with special licenses, but not anymore.
I dread every open Fusion because I expect them to hit me with another paywall or something. Like, okay, what's the do I have to work around now?
Yeah, the Fusion's actually got pretty good terms. The only limitations they have right now that I'm aware of with the hobby license is that you can only have so many projects active, or you can't share them, or something along those lines. I can't 10, all right. And then you aren't allowed to do tool changes on your CNC machine, which I think is totally reasonable. If you bought a CNC machine with a $10,000 tool changer, you should pay for a software license. I'm sorry, like that's totally understandable. The only annoyance is that they remove the ability to make your machine rapid, which again, like it's not that unreasonable because the hobby machines don't go that much faster on a rapid than they do normally. But anyway, that's like the only real kind of pain in the ass ones that I've seen.
Where it's super annoying is when you're doing a really slow, gentle cut that has a lot of rapids, because it actually uses whatever your current tool speed is, not like a moderate non-rapid. It actually, like if you're just kind of easing your way across the surface, then all of a sudden it'll lift up and it'll just ease its way back over to the other side, which is super annoying to watch.
You're a programmer, write a goddamn script. Come
Yeah,
on.
it's on my list of things to do. Yeah.
If there's a Z up, turn it into a G0 for the next move until it says it's down.
Yeah, there's probably a Python script out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you look up a post processor, I bet somebody's got a third-party post that'll do exactly.
That could be too. The thing about the tool change is, even if you don't have a tool changer, you can't post all of your G code in one fell swoop and then have your machine pause for manual tool changes.
Yes, I think it's totally reasonable. That's a good punishment. Like it's totally reasonable. It doesn't remove any machine function. It's just annoying, and it's annoying enough to make you pay if you really want to be annoyed by it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then again, you can make a little script. Even mechanical engineer moron me could figure out how to script around that.
Probably.
But again, I'd be too lazy, and I'd just go, I don't care, I'll just post it separately. Besides, I'm never confident enough in my code to actually believe that my tool changes are going to be successful. And I got to think of the last time I helped somebody make more than one part. Like, it's always one thing. It's like one part, and that's it. So.
For sure. Separate files per tool change. you got to get your checkpoints in there. That's me, the hobbyist CNCer. Yeah.
They're clearly turning the screws on Port Dennis. I can see the seething anger coming through.
Right. Yeah. No, I accept my my amateurness.
Dennis, you got FreeCAD loaded up then, or?
No, I use Fusion.
Oh, I know. I'm sure you do.
And OpenSCAD.
Yeah. OpenSCAD's got a lot of one there too.
I recently started using like the Siemens thing, so Solid Edge, because their community edition is free and it's made by a commercial company, so it's less painful to use than FreeCAD, at least when I tried it. I don't know if it does cam stuff, but it worked for making an STL this afternoon.
Yeah, I think so. That's the same company that owns NX, whatever. It's Unigraphics. I think it's the same. Solid Edge is probably a free-version Unigraphics.
My SolidWorks license ran out from school, so I had to find something else.
Well, if you ask nicely on the mailing list, I'm certain someone can help you figure out a way to get a low-cost license to SolidWorks.
Well, I have one at work that I could just go to work, but then I'd have to be at work. So
oh no, this
instead
is
of driving 5 minutes,
the home
for
version.
like 2 minutes.
He was just sitting over here. Oh, he is. He's still here. Anyway, Yeah, we could, I'm sure someone could anonymously mail you a thumb drive.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna do SolidWorks, it's probably because I'm gonna use whatever simulation package we paid for the full version of it work. So
All right, Mr. Sean. Sean's gonna finally talk about making his shed. Oh, my God.
Hey, this is from.
Oh, hang on. We're just gonna, 1 second. Oh, Apple. We did iCloud photo sharing and then it was like, oh, you actually want to view the pictures? Well, you need to download them. So thank God they have reasonable service at Apple. So I can take this. So I made a library in iCloud or in Apple Photos and then tried to share it to Google Photos. Of course, that didn't work. So we've been fighting ever so slightly with Apple. Hope this goes against your Apple like credits or something. You think this is- All right, hang on. We'll share the screen and watch on stuff. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You can just tell them. Either arrow key through or just close it. You got this. You got this.
All right, so this is my second presentation. A year and a half ago, my first one, 2.5 years ago, my wife and I rebuilt our garage. And so of course, before you start, so we got my first presentation with all the interior, most of the exterior, not quite. This is, of course, you have to pick a color. So not only did we pick a color, but this is actually a mock-up of the siding that we're going to use. Found that Menards actually will sell you like a little $4 pint of paint or half pint. We can get it matched any quality paint you want. So we put this up, and then 3 months later, she tried to pick the color, and then it got too cold, so we put that off this spring. So this is what our garage has looked like for the last 2 years. The hot tip is if you turn the Tyvek on backwards, then it won't actually wear out as fast. You don't see the fading of the colors. And it doesn't void the warranty. I looked it up. So we had a white garage for quite a while. But before I started the siding, I had to finish my window project, which was really just an excuse to use a panel router. So this is one sheet of 1/2-inch MDO, which is an exterior grade plywood, that I was able to get my window, my trim for the window, as well as the jamb out of the one piece of plywood. So once I had that milled up, this is the sash, trim, and the jamb. I did make the sill separately, as well as the jamb extension, because we super insulated our garage. My walls actually 10 inches thick. So you see that once I had this window made, I had to then make a curved jamb extension. So on the back wall there, took some 1/4-inch plywood, planed it down to about 1/8-inch plywood, to make 3/4 laminations. And then this back side of the window here is just formed and clamped. So I was able to get most of my clamps out, small clamps, and screw and clamp that curved plywood to laminate. So again, this phase of the project has really just been finding ways to make curved things that will work. So this kind of completed the window before I got glass. I still have yet to grout out the interior trim, but that's it in its opening. This is where basically the wall is a double stud wall, so it has a thermally broken interior and exterior. The ceiling here is actually was our old garage that we ripped down into the various parts and made into plywood.
It's not working.
Say your walls are 10-inch thick.
Yeah, they're 10 inches thick.
That's a kill room, man.
Oh, it's pretty quiet, yeah. Lots of stuff.
Keeps the hostages quiet, right?
So got the window in. So then it was time to start siding. So the first thing to do Jesus.
OneDrive, no Microsoft. We don't want to. That's probably an Apple thing. You only get 39% apparently.
Whatever it is. Well, so we had to get all the trim on. I was just going to show you we're trying to play off the house. What the hell?
Doesn't like the mouse. Yeah, I got a space mouse.
That's what I want. Thanks.
There you go. I guess use your thumb instead. I gave for Sean a trackball, so it's gonna be entertaining here. When we downloaded the pictures at random, or last all context for order, so that's
Yeah, let's see. Oh, this is fun. First time I've seen the guy pulled up with his semi truck without a piggyback, which typically lives in the back of the semi truck to unload. And then I kind of looked at him funny, like, oh, we're gonna unload all this by hand. And then he kind of laughed at me. He detached this cab, and I don't know if you can see the photo, but he's got forklifts on the back of his actually.
Where the trucks go in its front?
They tuck underneath the front of the tractor, the semi truck.
Oh, okay.
So he had to drive it backwards to pick up the load.
Yeah.
Kind of a neat system.
pretty liability. I have to get to that one.
So, of course, we try to match our house, which has a 2 3/4 inch exposure. So a lot of lines, a lot of layout to get into the siding, and I can only take the siding about this far because, of course, we had to add some brackets. Let's turn into the next router. Of course, before. So this is my my way to procrastinate actually cutting wood. It's a 1/4 20 bolt that I jammed with a big pen onto, it's 1/4 inch spring, and then they can just jam a pencil to the other end. So it's basically a spring loaded pencil. And this is drawing my arc for these brackets that I wanted to make. Before I actually took it to the router. Cut them out. So again, I was able to get both of these brackets out of one sheet of plywood, nesting them. This inner part is actually just an offset from the base curve, which is really beneficial when I started to glue it up. So I needed something to bend my redwood to, which again I kind of took some old material I had, planed it down into 1/8 inch pieces so that I could match that. Actually, even before I got to that wood part, this is what that drawing, it's just kind of a stiff piece of cardboard, but I was able to mock it up and make sure that I was happy. Too far committed to actually funding $80 piece of plywood. And then Jaden here helps me kind of quickly glue up both sides. Kind of the way this curve worked, I really wanted to glue it all at once. There's about 3 layers of redwood on both sides of this. So this is kind of what the brackets look like once I have them on. This is actually my next curve project. Is what you're seeing on the front here is actually another piece of cardboard that I drew on to kind of make sure I was happy with that curve. So that's going to be now that I'm almost done this side, a certain curve. Really, this project has been more exclusive to find camera.
Probably just make houses out of giant Legos.
That would be easier, and then you wouldn't have to mess around.
Yeah,
with curve
any kind of
flashing.
renovating you need to do is way simpler. Don't need a permit, you just need a place, not playtime.
The precious plastic people are making injection molded bricks to build with. The problem is that they're made out of HDPE, so they're ungodly flammable and they melt.
Brilliant.
So the whole rammed earth thing, or like.
Oh, it's like they didn't think that through.
It's good. Yeah, fire equipment. It's not great on the old Lego ones here.
Yeah, I suppose if the Lego house started on fire, you just sealed inside to the flames.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the smells will get great.
Knocked you up. So we're 90% done. From the street, it looks it's up.
So that's like 99% done.
Well, yeah.
You just got cleanup. It looks good from the street.
Yeah, now we're gonna do some super back. Yeah, so getting close.
Do you got any questions, Sean? Aaron's over here grilling. I'm figuring like, well, I mean, it looks like a house. You live in the damn thing. It would work.
Well, you have to move the tools around.
He's got a lot of stalls in there.
Well, yeah,
Garage door,
he's got
garage
10-inch
doors.
walls. I'm pretty sure he's got somebody living down there anyway.
Do we got any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. John. I think that's,
I don't think anybody's left. Those look like still images to me.
yeah. I think that's it for people who are going to present. Anybody have anything else they want to share? Always full. Call in the early evening. It's as I was saying before the meeting started, July and August are always the hardest months of the year to find anybody who's not on vacation and is actively building things rather than being out running around.
Advertise.
Yeah.
Come for the presentation, stay for the monkeypox.
right. Well, thanks everybody for swinging by. Got something to present next month. Let me know. September is always the upswing because it's all the students go back to school. So back in the videos. Thanks everybody. Thanks Andy. Travel safe.
Yeah.
Thanks. Take care.